Hello, hello. Hello, I am Tanith Lee and I am giving you this presentation today about blood sugar balance, basically, about getting off the sugar roller coaster and how it can affect everything your body is trying to do. So it can, influences everything going on in your body, basically. And I'm going to explain not only how that is happening, but what you can do about it. So why is it so important? Why is it important we get off this blood sugar roller coaster? So before we do that, let's move on. So what is blood sugar? Blood sugar, also known as blood glucose levels, is the level of this sugar present in your blood. And the average adult has about 4 grams of blood. So about a teaspoon in the blood at any one time. So it's not a lot. But we have other places in the body that we store this blood sugar. Okay, I'm going to call it blood sugar just for simplicity's sake. Okay, it's called different names depending where it's stored, but blood sugar this sugar is stored in different areas. Once you eat something that has, which is most foods have some level of carbohydrates, your body breaks it down. So it goes through your digestion, it breaks it down, the nutrients are absorbed into your bloodstream, it goes to your liver. Your liver holds quite a lot of glucose, and it goes from there. And the other storage places are your muscles. And when those places are full up, the other place it will go, because the body's like, hey, this has got too much glucose here. I need to store it somewhere. I know the perfect place, in the body fat. So the body fat cells is where it's stored next. So the body's really clever and it's doing its main job. It's just trying to keep you alive. So that's what happens when you're eating sugar. Now, when I talk about sugar, it's not just the sweet stuff. It's simple carbohydrates. So, it can be from potatoes and rice to cakes to crisps to root vegetables. Most food, apart from, animal protein, has some level of and fat. It has some level of carbohydrates in it. So we get it from everywhere, and it's not all bad. Carbs aren't bad. We hear these labels, but it's just learning how to find your sweet spot. Excuse the pun. So we need glucose. Your brain needs glucose. We need this sugar to function. But when we have too much for prolonged periods of time, it causes problems. Okay, and this is especially important for women as they're going through the menopause and post-menopause, because our change in hormone levels influence how our body deals with this glucose. The hormones change the signals, and it just gets a little bit crazy, just like everything else can be at menopause. So these are signs of poor blood sugar control. So you'll get a feeling now, you'll be able to see how really it influences so many systems in your body. So here's some ideas. So if you get that hangry feeling, if you're too hungry, you feel anxious, agitated, angry, short-tempered, you feel shaky, lightheaded or dizzy if you don't eat, and you get that hungry feeling. You need to eat every few hours. So you eat something and then not so long later you need to eat again. You've got brain fog, poor memory, concentration, focus, feeling anxious or have low moods. I find this really common with my clients, menopause clients. One of the things that changes quite significantly and quite quickly is the anxiety levels. Constant fatigue, so either feeling always tired or having crashes in the day. That post-lunch, mid-afternoon crash is very common, and it's okay. We have changes in our energy through the day. We can't expect, or we may expect, but we can't sustain these high levels of energy all the way through the day. It's normal for us to have these different fluctuations in energy, but it's the crashes that cause the problem. If you're pre-diabetic, if you've been told by your GP you're pre-diabetic, then that's a sure sign that you've got poor blood sugar control. Are you waking in the night? You might be waking up with insomnia, or you might be waking up with night sweats, heart palpitations, hot flushes. Yes, this can be to do with menopause, but it also can be absolutely to do with your blood sugar levels crashing through the night, and your body will secrete hormones that need to wake you up. Cravings for food to give you energy. And they tend to be, because we're wired this way as human beings, is that, if we need energy, let's get the thing that's going to give us the energy fast. And we are awash with those types of food. Those simple, processed, modern foods, really, they just hit the bloodstream. And as I'll explain in a second, what goes up comes crashing down. And that's where we get the problem. Maybe you're relying on caffeine to keep you going through the day. Maybe you're having a lot of caffeine, and that can also have an influence on blood sugar, but it's an indicator that you're relying on something else to give you that lift. And actually, caffeine does not give you energy, okay? It just stops you feeling sleepy, and that sleepiness will catch up with you at some point. As soon as the caffeine starts to wear off, people start to get a bit tired, they have more caffeine, blocks the sleepiness again, and that's another cycle. You might have difficulty losing weight as well, and that plays a role in this blood sugar balance. It could be to do with other reasons as well, but it's one of the things that it can influence. As I've mentioned, these hot flushes, night sweats, heart palpitations, and then just feeling really tired after eating. These are all indicators. Now, this isn't a list that's, it's all only blood sugar control issues. There could be other stuff going on, but these seem to be the most common things that come up. So here's a nice little chart that hopefully will explain to you what's going on. It's very simplistic, but if you get an understanding of this, I think you'll start to understand what's going on as you eat. So every time you eat, and it's got something with carbohydrates or sugar, in it, your blood sugar levels will go up. And as I explained earlier, your body, digests it, and it sends sends the sugar off to your body. But what goes up must come down. Remember, we've got those 4 grams of sugar, and what we want is stable blood sugar levels, which will still gently go up and down, which is shown in between these 2 lines. So you can see in between those 2 lines, we still have an element of blood sugar going up and it comes down. And this is like our sweet spot. This is where we want to be. This is where the body is happy to release a bit of body fat, if that's what it needs to do, protects our lean muscle, eliminates cravings, and increases our energy. So everything's ticking along nicely. The body likes this. It's just, everything's okay. It's when we eat food that perhaps have too many carbs in one time that our body can deal with, or maybe even too many calories. The blood sugars spike up, and you can see here it goes above that top line. And when it spikes up, what generally happens, it comes down, but when it comes down, it drops below the bottom line. So this is this classic blood sugar dip. And when it drops down, this is when those feelings and experiences I was talking about, the hangriness, the tiredness, the brain fog, all that happens down there. And this is happening throughout the day for a lot of people every time they eat, depending on what they're eating, but perhaps every time they eat. And it's exhausting basically for the body. Your body's having to work on this all during the day, up and down, up and down. It's all that energy it's wasting on trying to manage this. It could be using that energy elsewhere. So when we're in these dips, as I said, it can cause these problems. This is where the body then starts to have to maybe hold on to a bit of fat, or it might even have to use a bit of muscle to kind of get a bit of energy, and it all starts getting a bit haywire. Now, it says here, if you skip a meal, restrict calories or carbs, or exercise an empty stomach, your blood sugar levels can drop. That's true for some people. It very much depends on the person, their levels of fitness, their blood sugar levels, all these kind of things. It's not that black and white, but that's just giving you an indicator of what can cause it. So what we're aiming for is to stay between those lines. And that's where that's where the body is going to be most happy. So let's have a little bit of a reminder of what's happening when we're crashing up and down and all over the place. Constantly feeling hungry, feeling hungry even shortly after eating. Cravings, whether it's sweet, whether it's savoury, whether it's caffeine. Having these fatigue and slumps. We've got this poor sleep, as I mentioned. We're waking up through the night. even linked to lower immunity, so you may be getting more colds or more not feeling so great. Affects hot flushes and night sweats. It's linked to migraines and headaches, and has really talked about memory and your cognitive function, and also makes type 1 diabetes hard to manage. But what about long term? I mean, nobody wants to think about long term, but what is the long term implications of this? So we become insulin resistant and we develop type 2 diabetes. And hopefully everyone's aware of what type 2 diabetes is. Insulin resistance just means when we are spiking and crashing all the time, our body's having to release insulin. Insulin, if you like, opens the door on your cells for the glucose to go in. But when we're telling the pancreas to always keep pushing out all this insulin, in the end, the messaging kind of goes off and the cells stop listening. So there's a miscommunication that goes on, and that in itself can cause issues. It can cause skin problems, adult acne. Blood sugar balance affects everyone, but as we're getting older, adult acne, other skin conditions, arthritis. So sugar creates more free radicals in the body, which can affect the joints. And Alzheimer's and dementia, we are much more aware now of how these rates of Alzheimer's and dementia are going up, and they are calling it type 3 diabetes. So it's linked to this blood sugar issue. Some cancer risk, definitely mood changes, some gut stuff as well. A lot of people bloating, really having problems with the digestive system. That can be an issue. Heart disease, infertility, PCOS, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and it also affects wrinkles. So the skin, so it affects this is free radicals, and it affects the collagen. So it actually affects our skin on the outside, our muscle tone, our skin tone. And just remember that's going on the inside too. So it's quite an aging thing to have too much sugar. So that's all a bit depressing, isn't it? But it's just a bit of a reality check. So let's talk about what you can do to bring it back to balance. Okay, so here's some ideas. This isn't a full list, but just some ideas. Majority of people do not eat enough protein. For women particularly, we don't eat enough protein. Particularly at menopause, as we're getting older, we need more protein. From the age of 30, we are losing our lean muscle mass unless we are actively doing things to keep it. 1, giving it the building blocks it needs, which is protein. 2, keeping the strength there by doing some form of resistance training. And the more muscle we have, the more storage we have for glucose. Remember those storage places, and the more metabolically active our bodies are. So we become more efficient at burning fat the more muscle we have. So I'm not talking about becoming a bodybuilder or anything like that, but it's just, even if it's just making sure we don't lose that muscle, even if we're not going to gain extra, it's really important. A good tip is to start your day with a protein-based meal. Again, we've been raised on bowls of cereal, haven't we? Which is, we know what we know. So now we know that if we start with something more protein-based, so just make breakfast just another meal, like they do in other countries, then that's going to kind of set your blood sugar level for the day. Eggs, that kind of thing. Low-fat Greek yogurt with some berries and some seeds, that kind of stuff is going to be much better than a bowl of cereal. Or if you like porridge and stuff, you could have a smaller amount of porridge. You could add some more nuts and seeds and things to it to make it a bit more of a balanced meal. Which moves me on to eating a nutrient-dense diet. I know, we need to be eating more healthy foods. In terms of variety of vegetables, green leafy vegetables, all different vegetables, a little bit of fruit, decent amounts of protein. This is when your body's going to be getting all the nutrients it needs to do its job. All these many different things that are happening in the body, you know, digestion, everything that's going on needs certain nutrients. The more you give it that, that's going to reduce your cravings. Exercise, so regularly using up your glucose storage space in your muscles, okay, because when your muscles are using that glucose, your body's got more room for storage. So in the muscle, not around the middle, right? And it's finding your carbohydrate sweet spot. Not too much, but not too little that you're feeling really tired and not enough energy. So it's just finding those places. Ideally transitioning to eating 2 to 3 times a day with a nutrient-dense diet. Again, it's because we've been, you know, led by the food manufacturing world that we need to constantly snack and graze. So it is a transition, if we can, to eating 2 or 3, you know, really well balanced, healthy meals, and giving your body a break between eating. And, you know, it takes a bit of time to move that. If you're a snacker, it takes a bit of time to move towards that. And I've said reduce or avoid snacking, ideally. Also, you know, adding the protein in, adding the veggies in, start to reduce the simply carbohydrates. I'm not saying don't have any, because life is for living, but it's just about moderation, that lovely word. So just reducing cakes and biscuits and flours, all that kind of stuff, including the sugary drinks and the diet drinks, because they still have they still influence your blood sugar levels. And fruit juices are super high in sugar as well. So it's about just starting to listen to your body and noticing how you feel with less of the higher carbohydrate foods in your body. Occasional sweet stuff is fine. Let's enjoy the cake, but it doesn't have to be, you know, every day at 3 o'clock. And it's also best eaten after dinner than a snack, because it will be absorbed slower into your body. So we're looking at more of a slow release carbohydrates. You know, things that haven't been refined are going to have will stop the spikes and the dips. And then pairing higher sugar foods with protein. So if you like fruit, you could have like a couple of little nuts with it. You know, bowl of cereal could be maybe some Greek yogurt with a little bit low sugar granola and some lovely berries. So it's just making those little tweaks to your meals, and you will start to feel the difference. It doesn't feel like you're feeling deprived, you know, or anything like that. So I hope this has been useful for you. I hope you get some idea of how important it is to you know, if you were having those symptoms, to bring these things back into place. So thanks ever so much for watching the video, and I'll see you all very soon.